Chapter 66. A person's death is akin to a pig's death. Get lost. Hearing Wang Er's words, Fang Yuan immediately broke into a cold smirk and he brandished his palm in front of him. Swoosh, with a light sound, a blue-colored moon blade shot forward at the same time. He put strength into his leg and rushed towards the four hunters. Gu Master? The hunters were stunned and shouted upon seeing the moon blade. The moon blade had already fired over, and they rushed to evade. Plunk. A person did not evade fast enough, and his right forearm was hit by the moon blade. Immediately his bones and flesh split, the entire wrist and his forearm cut through and fell on the ground. Hhhh. He laid on the ground, screaming in fear and pain. His left arm was like an eagle claw gripping his right arm. His right limb spewed bright red blood nonstop, quickly dyeing the floor red. Spare me. We did not offend you intentionally. The other two mortals, on seeing their companion's state, went pale without a trace of blood in their face. They hurriedly got on all fours and kneeled down, kowtowing to Fang Yuan nonstop. Humph, a bunch of fags, what are you afraid of? It's just a Gu disciple. Only Wang Er was still standing. Fang Yuan attacked without warning, and this had made him frightened and angry. His arms went behind his back, and with a swift action, he grabbed hold of the bow and arrow in his arms. Stop, come further, and I'll shoot you. Wang Er retreated as he readied the arrow while screaming. Oh. Fang Yuan narrowed his eyes. This Wang Er was rather intractable. Normally when mortals saw Gu masters, they would be cowering in fear. Yet this man was able to remain calm. He must be rather bold. Pew. Another moon blade shot out towards Wang Er. Unappreciative bastard. Wang Er snorted and killing intent rose from his heart. He took a sidestep and evaded the moon blade while shooting an arrow. The arrow was fast, and with a swoosh, it reached Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan ducked, his head lowering slightly and evading the arrow as he continued rushing forward, quickly reaching Wang Er. Wang Er bravely threw away the bow in his hand and clenched his bull-sized fist. Rushing towards Fang Yuan, he had a large build, his back strong like a wolf's and his waist like a bee's, and he was at least 50 centimeters taller than Fang Yuan. The sunlight shone from behind him, and as Fang Yuan rushed towards him, he could see a dark shadow hanging over his face, his eyes emitting killing intent like a wolf. No. Stop quickly. The two hunters, seeing that the two were going to collide into each other, frightfully shouted. Die. Wang Er's eyes were fierce as the muscles on his face twitched, showing his sinister and insane expression, like a bloodthirsty evil wolf. Both his fists flew towards Fang Yuan. Boom. His fist was fast and heavy, even cutting the wind. Fang Yuan could see the fist getting bigger in his eyes, but his expression was unchanging as he took a sidestep. Swoosh. At the crucial moment, he avoided the fist and forcefully rotated his body, knocking Wang Er's left hand away. Wang Er laughed sinisterly as he waved his fist horizontally, his fist striking first, about to reach Fang Yuan's back. But at this moment, a bright flash of sunlight entered his iris. His back was originally facing the sun, and now that he had turned around, the eye-piercing sunlight temporarily made his eyes hurt, and his vision went blank. Fang Yuan smirked as he backflipped in the air, dodging Wang Er's fist, at the same time waving his right arm. Pew! The third moon blade flew along the sunlight trajectory. Wang Er's senses tingled as he felt unprecedented danger. He turned his head around, and the next moment, the eerie blue moon blade flew past. Be careful, brother Wang Er. Did he avoid it? The two kneeling on the ground forgot to beg for forgiveness at this moment, staring widely. The piercing sunlight shone on their face. At this moment, time seemed to slow down, the surrounding sound vanished, and the world was silent. The afternoon's blazing sun paved a white background, and on this backdrop, Wang Er's body became a black shadow. His body was in the air at an arc, his muscular body stretching in a crescent shape like an open bow, full of masculine appeal. His head lowered as he tried to avoid the moon blade. The moon blade flew like a snail in the air. Its eerie blue light almost invisible under the sun's rays, the white background, the black shadow, and the blue moon blade, these three formed a brilliant stage for a moment full of life and death. The moon blade flew over. The shadow that represented Wang Er landed smoothly as it flowed with the trajectory. He was safe and sound. Phew. Seeing this, a young hunter breathed out a sigh of relief. He avoided it. Another hunter was cheering internally. But at this time, a small piece of the shadow's head flew out along with red fluids, separating from the shadow and spewing everywhere. The blue moon blade gradually dissipated in the air. That black shadow was like a broken bow, as the energy accumulated within it disappeared at once. It turned into a beautiful but sad fallen leaf, silently landing on the ground. The two hunters' irises shrunk into pin size. Their mouths were agape, stretching to their bodily limits. Splat. The bright red fluid landed on their faces. The two touched their faces, blood. They jolted awake. In their perception, time had returned to normal, and noise returned. There were birds chirping, water flowing, and their companion screaming while grabbing his broken arms. Second brother Wang. A hunter called, his voice full of horror. All this time, Wang Er was their leader. He's dead. Another hunter cried out, his face grim to the limit. Brother Wang Er is our strongest hunter. A while ago he was still talking with us, but to think the next moment he's dead. He should not have angered that Gu master. We mortals are no match for Gu masters. The two hunters were frightened and shocked. At once they were like statues kneeling on the ground. Fang Yuan got up from the ground. Earlier, to avoid Wang Er's fist, he rotated his body in the air and lost his balance. After shooting the moon blade, he fell to the ground. But this fall was worth it, as Wang Er's fist would have caused him to vomit blood on the spot. After all, Fang Yuan had no defensive Gu, and his body was only a 15-year-old. Now, he stood up. Other than his shoulders hurting, he had practically no injuries. This Wang Er is very strong, much stronger than that Mo family servant Gao Wan. If any other student encountered him, they would lose without doubt. Even a rank 1 upper stage Gu master would lose to him out of carelessness. Fang Yuan stared at the corpse of Wang Er deeply. Gu masters were still threatened by genius mortal martial artists when they are at rank 1 stage. This Wang Er was truly skilled. His archery skill was fast and stable. Just relying on this, it could match Moonblade. In fact, the Moonblade might even be inferior, as the arrow has a larger range. His fighting skill has reached the peak of mortals, a strong body with tough bones, and he was also ruthless. With Fang Yuan's small body, it could not go head-to-head with him. Thus, any other student would lose undoubtedly. Unfortunately for Wang Er, he met Fang Yuan. Once he appeared, Fang Yuan noticed his bow and deduced that he could not fight long range with him. The Moonblade only had a range of 10 meters. The bow had far greater range than the Moonblade. Thus, Fang Yuan ditched long combat. He quickly got closer and closed the gap between them, showing a physical fighting stance. Wang Er had no choice but to discard his bow and fight physically with Fang Yuan. But Fang Yuan did not really think of going close combat with Wang Er. He used the angle of the sun's rays and caused a weakness in Wang Er. Before shooting out his third moon blade, he was already middle stage now, and with the liquor worm's refinement, the moon blade had the attack power of an upper stage Gu master. At such a close range, with Wang Er's weakened vision, his defeat was guaranteed. But this Wang Er is indeed skillful. I wanted to decapitate him, but at the crucial moment, he relied on his senses and reflexes and evaded half of my attack, causing my moon blade to cut off only half of his head. Life and death is nature's law. All living beings are equal, and everyone has their right to survive and be killed. There might be royalty in lower beings, but in face of death, a person's death is no different from a pig's. What's the difference? They're both dead. Fang Yuan took a final look at Wang Er's corpse and sighed in his heart. Chapter 67. Don't worry, I'll spare you. The tree roots penetrate into the mountain soil, letting their green hands reach up towards the sky. Thick and solid tree trunks faced each other, looking similar through the distances. The exuberant branches and leaves intertwined in midair. Under the surroundings of these trees was a wooden house. The wooden house was made entirely from the solid, thick barks, leaking out a type of genuine firm smell. The wooden house was not a newly built one, but it had gathered many years. Thus the house surface had green moss growing all over, and some of the tree trunks had begun to sprout out tender little branches. Around the wooden house was a tall and great fence constructed from green spear bamboo. The back and front area was all vegetable fields, and in the middle of the fields was a man-made well. This time, a young and beautiful lady was drawing water from the well. While she wore simple and plain clothing, this was still hard to mask her complexion. She was 16 years of age, and she had a big pair of black eyes, the black and whites of her eyes clearly defined, and pure like crystals. The sunlight penetrated through the overlapping and luxuriant tree leaves, shining onto her face, letting her skin reflect light like it was white snow, also showing a sort of transparent red flush and gentleness on her. Her black hair hung down unruly and half covered her cute earlobes. The pink lips were pursed at the moment, and she was clenching her set of white perfect teeth. her face showing an expression of full concentration. She used all her strength to pull the bucket full of water out of the well. With another breath, she moved the bucket to the ground outside the well. Huff. The young girl wiped her forehead and breathed out, using her pale hand to fan her own face. Hearing the bucket hitting the ground, the wooden house's door opened, and an old man came out. The old man's hair was a mix of black and white, his face having layers of wrinkles. Although his eyes looked tired, they showed a hint of brilliance sometimes. Like an elderly tiger, although old, the tiger's authority was still evident. "Lass, this bucket is too heavy," I said. "Let me carry it." "Why are you secretly watering the plants behind my back again?" The elderly looked at the young girl and showed an expression of doting affection. "Father," the young girl sweetly called, "you were hunting until late at night yesterday. I wanted you to sleep in later today. It's just a water bucket. Look, I can carry it out, right? You always loving to act tough." The old man's voice was full of helplessness, but his eyes were once again doting on her. He took a large step and got to the well, stretching out his hand and easily grabbing the bucket. "Come, lass, let's water the plants together." The air was full of the smell of wild grass and flowers, and the summer's wind blew warmly and passed by the trees, turning into a gust of refreshing wind. The wooden house on the mountain had a vegetable field, and the girl used the pail, lowering her back to water the plants. The father was in charge of getting the water, rotating between two water buckets. The atmosphere of a loving family was evident in this tiny space. Sigh. I am too old. Just a few buckets, and I am already exhausted. After a while, the old man stood by the well, wiping the sweat off his forehead and sighing deeply. The young girl turned her head back, smiling like flowers, saying, "Father, you finally realized it. You're already so old, yet you want to act tough all the time. How many times have I told you? Let second brother do the hunting. You should be resting at home enjoying your life at this age." The old man laughed, nodding. "Relying on your second brother's abilities, he can roam this mountain easily. With his archery skills, it even surpasses me in my youth. But I still cannot feel at ease. His heart is too wild, and with just martial art skills he wants to soar." Sigh. Young men love to imagine freely. They all have this problem. "Father," the young girl dragged her words. The old man laughed even more heartily now, his tone carrying a mischievous hint. "Oh yeah, there's still you. You're not young anymore. It's time to get married. I have found a good partner for you, and with your good looks, there's no problems with finding a good family." The girl's face grew red like a tomato. Immediately, she felt too embarrassed until she was lost for words. The old man looked at the sky, imagining the great future as he sighed. "Once your second brother suffers some setbacks and curbs his nature, I will retire and never go into the mountains. Next, I will find you a good family and watch you marry and have children, preferably a chubby boy. Heh. Your father wants to take care of his grandson. That's all I want. A person's life is not easy, and as a hunter, how many can have a good ending?" Sigh. "All my partners and comrades from back then are already gone. I am all that's left." "Father, you are wrong," the young girl consoled. "What do you mean there's only you left? You still have us." The old man was laughing and was about to reply, but he suddenly heard a sound and turned his head. The little entrance of the bamboo fence was broken from the outside by someone. "You are Old Man Wang?" Fang Yuan's cold expression with his eerie eyes stepped forward with a lump of moonlight in his right arm. The old man was shocked as he looked at the moonlight on Fang Yuan's hand, rapidly kneeling. "This old man pays his respects to Lord Gu Master. Old Man Wang, your son dared to offend me. I have executed him. Bring his corpse forward." Fang Yuan stood proudly, staring at the kneeling old man as he brought out the main topic. His words had just finished, and two young hunters carried Wang Er's corpse in. Seeing this corpse, Old Man Wang's body shook. "Second brother." The young girl screamed pitifully, rushing forward and grabbing Wang Er's corpse, her face flushed with tears. Wang family's daughter. The two young hunters, seeing the girl they liked crying in front of them, felt terrible. They wanted to console her, but no words came out. "Old Man Wang, I heard you're a hunter, the best among the few villages. At such an old age, you can still hunt and get a good result every time. This is great." Fang Yuan paused here for a moment and continued expressionlessly. Draw me a map of all the traps of the nearby mountain area now, as well as the results of your observation of wild beast territories from your hunting experience all these years. Draw it for me, and I will spare your son's sin of offending me. If not, humph. These villages were under Guyu village's control. The villagers were all farmer slaves of the Guyu clan. With Wang Er's offense for offending his master, according to the clan rules, their entire family would be implicated. Old Man Wang's body shook again, almost falling to the ground. An impact like this was too sudden and great to him. Murderer! You are the murderer that harmed my brother. You treat human lives like livestock, and you dare to confront us? I will exact revenge for my brother. The young girl screamed, her voice full of hatred and anger towards Fang Yuan, and she rushed towards Fang Yuan. But she was only halfway there when she got stopped by someone. It was not the two young hunters, but her father. Disgraceful wretch. Old Man Wang screamed as he gave the young girl a tight slap, sending her to the ground. Your second brother is dead. Do you want to die too? Do you want this old father of yours to be old and alone forever? The old man cried profusely saying this, his body trembling furiously. Father! The young girl was awakened by this, and her tears poured out. Her voice was full of sadness, unjust, pity, hatred, and helplessness. The old man turned his body, facing Fang Yuan as he kneeled down and placed his forehead on the ground, prostrating deeply at Fang Yuan's feet. His voice shook as he said, Lord Gu Master, my son offended you and deserved to die. I shall draw the map for you now. Please spare us with your magnanimity. Fang Yuan's expression turned milder. He looked at the old man arrogantly, saying, Be at ease. As long as you draw honestly, I will spare you. But don't think of lying to me, for if I find any suspicious points, your lives will be forfeited. I understand. This old man understands. Old Man Wang kowtowed nonstop. Please, Lord Gu Master, allow me to retrieve my brush and paper. No need. Fang Yuan waved his hand, looking at the two hunters he had forced along, ordering, Enter the room and find paper and brush, and bring them out. Yes, Lord Gu Master. The two youngsters did not dare to rebel under Fang Yuan's authority. Lord, the paper and brush are on the square table in the kitchen. Old Man Wang said. Fang Yuan's eyes shone, but he remained silent. The two hunters barged into the house and quickly brought out the paper and brushed in the southern territory. The paper were specially made of bamboo, where the quality was bad and the paper was tough with green overlays. Paper like this was suited to the moist weather of the southern territorial weather. If it was rice paper, it might be destroyed after a week due to moisture. The old man carried the brush and kneeled on the ground, drawing out black lines, curves, or dots. He used over 10 bamboo papers before handing them all to Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan looked through them and split these bamboo papers into two, handing them to the two hunters. Take a look if there's any inappropriate areas. Every mistake, I'll give you one primeval stone. Chapter 68. There is no innocence in nature. The two hunters took the bamboo papers, their hands trembling, eyes shining. This is Hunter Wang's life experience and effort. Us hunters, although we keep in contact, it is all about trap placement. We will not tell others about the wild beast distribution. This bamboo paper, it is all the information that Hunter Wang had gathered since his ancestors. So this valley has a herd of wild deer. Haha. After I hunt these wild deer, I won't have to worry about expenses for the next 3 months. This stream has a cave of mountain bears. How close. I almost hunted at this region last time. Note it. I must note it all down. These were precious information. It could be said to be a hunter's rice bowl. Normally not within a generation, but all the way from their forefathers. These experiences and information were obtained at the expense of their blood and lives. But Old Man Wang's family had always hunted for a living. When it got to Old Man Wang, he had reached the peak of his family line, the acclaimed #1 hunter. Information in the hands of such a person is the most useful and truthful. The two young hunters checked for nearly 15 minutes, glossing through the map multiple times. Only after Fang Yuan rushed them did they finally hand over the bamboo paper reluctantly. During this period, Old Man Wang was kneeling on the ground, his forehead touching the ground as he expressed his respect. The young girl was lying on the ground, as if she had gone lifeless. There is no problem, Lord. The trap areas in these bamboo papers are all accurate. The two answered, Lord Gu Master, this concerns me and my daughter's life. I would definitely not lie to you. The old man on the ground shouted as he continued to kowtow. Not bad. Fang Yuan waved the stack of bamboo paper, yet suddenly his words changed. But I don't believe it. Old man Wang jolted, raising his head, but only saw an eerie blue moon blade enlarging within the reflection of his iris. Pewed out a skull flew into the air, fresh blood spewing all over. Arg. Lord, this. The two young hunters were taken by surprise. Shock and disbelief showed on their faces. Father. The young girl cried out profusely as she leapt towards old man Wang's headless corpse. But midway, a moonblade flew towards her face. Splat. She fell onto the ground, lifeless. Her beautiful face, from her forehead to her chin, slowly showed a thin red line. The line became thicker as fresh red blood oozed out, flowing down along half of her nose and half of her lips. They flowed onto the black soil, dyeing half of her face bright red. The other half of her face, though, was still as beautiful, the skin fair and rosy. Under the bright blue sky, it seemed even more lustrous, like a work of art. At least she looks decent. Fang Yuan looked at the dead girl blandly, nodding satisfactorily. Using rank 1 middle stage primeval essence, the moonblade could slice goo. Now that he was using upper stage primeval essence, it could break bones and even cut steel. Wang family's daughter. A young hunter fell onto the ground in despair after seeing her demise with his own eyes. Lord Gu Master, spare us. The other hunter, feeling Fang Yuan's phase, nearly died of shock as he plopped on the ground. Get up, go inside and search. Fang Yuan ordered. I know that a hunter's family always keeps a beast skin map. On top of it is the terrain, trap locations, and the beast territories. Find it for me, and I'll let you keep your lives. Yes, 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 we will search immediately. Give us some time, Lord Gu Master. The two frantically got up and ran into the wooden house. Sounds of wardrobes overturning and falling could be heard from the wooden house. But a moment later, even though the hunters ransacked the house, there was no beast skin map to be found. Lord, please give me some time. We will find it right now. The two hunters were terrified as they got more desperate and searched boorishly, smashing many furniture in the process. Fuck, where is it? Appear, please appear. They muttered as their bodies shivered, their eyes getting bloodshot. Useless trash. Fang Yuan slowly walked into the house. Lord, forgive us, please Wah. The two young hunters shivered like they were electrified and fell to the ground, begging for their lives. Fang Yuan ignored the two and observed the house. There were 4 rooms in the house, a living room and a kitchen. All the furniture were in a mess, like they were ransacked. Fang Yuan slowly stepped in, his steps producing echoes in the wooden house. It has indeed been searched. That shouldn't be right. Almost every hunter has a beast skin map inherited throughout the generations, getting refined along the way, recording all the beast's territory and pitfalls. This is the livelihood of a hunter. How can they not have it? Fang Yuan stood pondering. Moreover, I tested that old man Wang earlier, purposely getting the two hunters to search for paper and brush. The old man immediately called out the location of the paper and brush, probably worried that they might find the beast skin map. Thus it has to be in this house. Fang Yuan observed the house again, and suddenly his inspiration struck as he looked at the fire pit. This fire pit was connected to the chimney, used in winter to gain warmth. There was even some residue charcoal in the fire pit. Fang Yuan walked to the fire pit, slowly squatting down and taking a shovel beside the fire pit, digging out the charcoal. Most of the charcoal still has their wooden shape. They were brittle and easily broken into two. Oh. Fang Yuan inspected, suddenly finding a charcoal block that had a very tough material and was very heavy, not light like the other charcoal blocks. He used the shovel to dig out this charcoal block, smashing it on the ground. The charcoal smashed into bits, revealing a bamboo tube. The two hunters gasped at this scene. Fang Yuan took the bamboo tube and opened it on one side, shaking it, causing a map to fall out. The map was heavier than the stack of bamboo paper, made with a piece of white beast skin. The beast's skin was huge, over 1 meter long and half a meter in breadth. There was black, green, red, yellow, and blue lines on it. forming a complicated map. Fang Yuan was slightly taken aback looking at it. The map's range was very big, extending far beyond the village's vicinity. As a mortal, it was not easy to map out areas so far away. His gaze focused on 5 spots. Those with wild boar herds. 2 were small-sized, 2 were medium-sized, and there was a large-sized boar herd. In the middle of the large-sized herd, there was a giant red cross. Seeing this cross, Fang Yuan snickered. On his bamboo paper, there was no such marking. The 2 young hunters had also seen the bamboo paper and found no problems. This was their own inexperience, only certain of some areas. This red cross was far beyond the village, and from this, Old Man Wang's cunningness could be seen. This was why Fang Yuan killed them to hunt for wild boars. He needed such a beast skin map. But he was not convinced by a map drawn by others. Only getting a real map like this, could it be dependable? Fang Yuan had heard of all sorts of remarks in his past life. Just a word scram was not enough reason for him to kill Wang Er. When hearing the 4 hunters' conversation beside the boar trap, Fang Yuan had already planned his murder. Killing Wang Er reduced his opposition and gave him reason to obtain the map. Why wouldn't he kill him? Fang Yuan would not kill for the sake of killing. Killing is only a method. Using this method, if it can solve the problem, then why not? The old man definitely had to die. Even if he can endure the murder of his son, Fang Yuan would not be at ease. Otherwise, it would be a case of, when cutting down weeds, you must get at the roots. Otherwise, the weeds will return with the spring breeze. What? You said killing the innocent. Hee, no matter which world, as long as one lives in this world, they would be intertwined in karma. How can anyone be innocent? Humans slaughter pigs. Aren't the pigs innocent? Big fish eat small fish, and small fish eat shrimps. In nature, there is only the food chain. There is no innocence in this world. Anybody can live, anybody can die, but nobody is innocent. Chapter 69. Life is as cheap as grass. The beast's skin map was very thick. It was unlike paper that could be folded and carried around easily. Fang Yuan could only roll the beast's skin up and put it back into the bamboo tube, where he then tied up both ends of the bamboo tube with hemp rope and carried it on his back. The 2 hunters stared firmly at the bamboo case, their eyes unavoidably showing signs of greed. They were not idiots after all. They knew the value of the map. This beast's skin map is something that Gu masters would not even bother looking at. But to mortals, especially hunters like them, it was the most valuable treasure. The Wang family had began to pass down this map since the time of their ancestors. Old Man Wang was able to become a famous hunter, his name known throughout the vicinity and beyond. The map had much contribution to this. It was truly an authentic family heirloom. I'm going to ask you, in Old Man Wang's household, is there anyone else? Fang Yuan's gaze was dark, his tone cold as he asked. The 2 young men kneeling on the ground shuddered immediately when they heard this question from Fang Yuan. They thought about what had just conspired earlier, and the greedy expressions from their faces disappeared in an instant, replaced with fear and terror. There is no one else. The entire family is dead, Lord Gu Master. Hunter Wang originally had a wife, but that was decades ago, and she was killed by wild wolves that intruded the village. Before his wife died, she gave birth to 2 sons and a daughter. But the oldest son Wang died on the mountain while hunting 3 years ago. There is no one else in the Wang family. This was the immediate reply from the 2 young hunters. Is that so? Fang Yuan narrowed his 2 eyes and he looked at the 2 men kneeling before him, knowing that they were telling the truth. When one's life and death was in the hands of others, the probability of lying was very small. But he asked anyway, did you lie to me? We would not dare to lie even the slightest, Lord. I thought of something. Old Man Wan actually also has a daughter-in-law, Wang Da's old wife. But after Wang Da disappeared, his wife died due to a broken heart. That year, the village even specially sent down a chastity memorial arch. But rumor has it that Wang Da's wife wanted to remarry, and she was actually hounded to death by Old Man Wang. When you killed Old Man Wang, Lord, you are helping us citizens, rooting out the evil and bringing people peace. The other hunter quickly added, that's right, that's right. Actually, Lord, we have long found this old Wang unfavorable. Humph, he's nothing special, just that he can hunt better than us. We're all just mortals, yet he thinks he's more special than us and purposely moved out of the village to live here. As the younger generation, we sometimes will ask him to teach us and impart his experiences, but he would just outright chase us away and never allow us to show up again near the wooden house. Fang Yuan listened quietly while nodding. Although these two started belittling Old Man Wang in an attempt to keep their lives, he did not sense any resentment from these two men's mouths. Fang Yuan guessed inwardly that these two men asking to consult for hunting matters should be fake. He surmised that they were just over to covet for the Wang family's daughter and her good looks. Yet in the end they were found out by Old Man Wang and disciplined a few times harshly, weeding out the wicked and let the law-abiding citizens live in peace. Enough of such bootlicking. This time I killed them because my motive was just for this beast's skin map. Well, both of you have showed a satisfying behavior. You can both go now. Fang Yuan's tone softened, but at the same time the right hand behind his back shone with gloomy moonlight. The two young men kneeling on the ground felt surprise and joy once they heard this. Thank you so much for your mercy, Lord. Lord, your generosity and indulgence, we shall remember in heart forever. They kowtowed on the ground, their mucus and tears overflowing. Sounds of dull knocking could be heard. After several knocks, they immediately got up and turned to leave, although Fang Yuan was younger than them in age. But after witnessing firsthand what Fang Yuan was like in doing things, they were beyond fearful and terrified, wishing never to meet Fang Yuan again. Hold it. Just at this moment, a voice suddenly traveled over. The moment it finished, there was a swoosh, and a Gu master jumped down from a treetop. You both cannot leave. Tell me what happened here. All of it. This Gu master that just jumped down was wearing a deep blue uniform, and there was a scarlet belt with a metal plate in the middle. There was a huge 2 word carved onto the metal plate. This rank 2 Gu master had a slim build, his 2 eyes slender. He wore arm protectors on his wrists, and his calves had sturdy leg bindings, his entire being radiating with a highly capable aura. This commoner greets Lord Jianghe. The two young men had just got up with the intention to leave, but once they saw this Gu master they instantly knelt down again, prostrating themselves in admiration while greeting. This Gu master was someone they knew. It was the Gu master stationed at the village. Every year to reinforce their control in their surroundings, the Guyu village would dispatch Gu master down into the little villages and hamlets, stationing Gu masters there. This would also prevent the other powers from infiltrating and at the same time strengthen their defenses on their borders. This Gu master named Jiang, he did not bother with the two hunters kneeling on the ground, instead looking straight at Fang Yuan, asking in a cold tone, I am the Gu master Jianghe of the Guyu clan who has been stationed here. You are? Fang Yuan laughed lightly and stretched his right palm out, where the moonlight Gu was giving out a ball of moonlight in the middle of his palm. When the Gu master Jianghe saw the moonlight in Fang Yuan's hand, his gaze softened considerably. The moonlight Gu was the sign of the Guyu clan. This was something that could not be forged. This matter is simple, actually. Old Man Wang's second son offended me, so I killed the entire family off in anger. Those two can be my witness. Fang Yuan straightforwardly admitted with a bold and confident manner, pointing at the two hunters kneeling down at the same time. Fang Yuan was not lying, and these two hunters nodded in haste. There was no hesitation. Jianghe stared blankly for a moment before he started laughing loudly. You killed well? Just a bunch of measly peasant servants. To actually dare to offend their masters, they deserve to be killed. But he quickly added with a change in tone, full of emotion and deep meaning, however, young junior, what you've done has also brought problems to me. Although Old Man Wang resides far away from the masses and stayed here alone with his family, they are still villagers that I am in charge of. I was sent out from the clan and stationed here in this village. This means I'm supposed to protect the villagers and be on the alert as defense. Now that you've killed these few people, the number of villagers will have lessened. During the examination at the end of the year, the clan's assessment towards me will drop. Fang Yuan's gaze shone, and he instantly knew that this Jiang, he was using this as a pretext to extort money from him. He laughed and said out, this isn't so difficult. Senior, you just have to report the truth back. Just say that this entire family was killed by me, and it has nothing to do with Senior whatsoever. When Jiang he heard this, his eyelids twitched, anger rising in his heart towards Fang Yuan, who did not know how to appreciate favors. His manner of speaking became extremely solemn. Then I will have to conduct business impartially here. Junior, if you are not afraid of the clan's investigation, then report your name. I will record it in detail as how things really are on paper. His words brought a strong implication of threat. If it was any other youngster, they would have been frightened by this statement already. But Fang Yuan could see Jianghe's weakness from it, and he instantly said, then Senior shall report as how it should be. All right, my surname is Gu Yu, and my name is Fang Yuan. So you're actually Fang Yuan? Jianghe's face evidently showed astonishment for a while. I have been hearing about you all the time from my little brother recently. You thoroughly beat up all your classmates, extorting in front of everyone, getting 60 pieces of primeval stones each time. Every time my little brother speaks of it, he's always jealous of how you can earn money so easily. Not to mention that time when you gambled out a liquor worm and a mudskin toad consecutively. This sort of luck sure makes people jealous. Oh right, my little brother is Jiangya. You both should have met each other long ago. So it's him. Fang Yuan nodded and admitted, yes, every time when I buy moon orchid petals, I would buy them in Jiangya's shop. Ha ha ha, since this is the case then we both are acquaintances. Oh well, let's forget about it. This matter I'll handle it. When he said this, Jianghe clapped his chest with his hands, putting out the appearance of one with the spirit of loyalty and self-sacrifice. He was merely using this favorable circumstance. There was no way he could have really reported the matter. After reporting of such a thing, the clan's assessment towards him would still drop either way. You might as well just do a good turn to Fang Yuan. As for old man Wang's family's death, he could just report that they were invaded and attacked by a wild beast. It's old man Wang's fault for his unconventional ways of insisting to move out of the village. Building a wooden house far away from the population, Jianghe was not afraid of the matter being disclosed. There was just a few mortal peasants around. Their lives were cheap as grass. Who cares if they died? Even if the clan found out about the cover-up, they would hardly care about such a small matter. But Junior, you have yet to graduate from the academy and do not have the Gu Master uniform like I am wearing now. If that Wang heir saw this outfit, he'd know about your status as Gu Master and wouldn't offend you. Junior, you are a smart person, don't you think so? He, said Jianghe again. Fang Yuan's eyes flashed. Jianghe's words had implicit meaning, and was actually warning himself, do not run out of the academy and wander around for no reason, and you better not come to the area under my jurisdiction here after today to cause trouble and kill people again. In that case, thank you very much for your advice, senior. Fang Yuan cupped his fists in greeting, bidding farewell to Jianghe, immediately taking his leave from here. Chapter 70. Using the white boar Gu. In the black of the night, the moon is shaped like a silver plate, hanging high in the sky, spewing its watery moonlight down. The dense woods lightly unfold their dense green leaves and branches in the summer wind. The waterfalls crash down as they flow, but the sounds are unable to cover the noises of the sandalwood crickets chirping about. Fang Yuan stepped onto the green grass, quietly approaching a mountain boar. This mountain boar had its head buried, puffing and snorting as it digged the emerald earth with its snout, rummaging among the soil and grass to look for worms. The wild boar was an omnivorous animal. It not only ate worms, but also stole bird eggs and was adept at hunting wild rabbits, mice, even venomous creatures such as snakes and scorpions. Fang Yuan crept slowly from behind the boar. Under the bright moonlight, the grayish-black fur coat of the wild pig could be seen clearly. Its body was strong and firm, the forelimbs short and rough. On its back was a long and stiff mane, while atop its ears were sparse fur that was erect like needles. With all four limbs on the ground, each foot had 4 toes, but only the 2 middle ones were digging against the soil. Its tail was thin and short, sometimes flinging about, chasing away the mosquitoes flying around. Suddenly it stopped digging for its meal, rearing its head up. At the same time, the boar's sharp little upright ears quickly trembled a few times. Although Fang Yuan had managed to stop his tracks in time, this mountain boar still found him. It immediately turned around and groaned out with warning sounds. Fang Yuan was not surprised by this. A wild animal was not like a domestic one. They were all very alert. Especially the wild boar. They had a cute smell and could find bird nests that were often hidden very well. Even if this mountain boar did not hear any noises, when Fang Yuan neared around 100 meters away from it, it would be able to smell his body odor and will still be able to sense Fang Yuan's presence. Although Fang Yuan had 5 Gu worms on him at the moment, the spring-autumn cicada, liquor worm, moonlight Gu, little light Gu, and the white boar Gu, these Gu were all not able to match each other, and were incompatible. Fang Yuan had a smell-lock Gu that could cover up his body odor, and another quiet steps Gu that concealed the noise of one's footsteps. He could completely and silently reach up to a distance of 10 steps away from the mountain pig. However, if he had these 2 Gu, then Fang Yuan would have been keeping 7 Gu worms. This would cause his primeval essence usage to be too great, and he would have difficulty supporting them. Gu masters in general can only feed 4 to 5 Gu worms of the same rank. Thus, Gu masters usually do not move alone, but instead form small groups of 5 or at the very least with 3 among the groups. There would be someone specially in charge of detection, one responsible for advancement, one bearing the offense role, another responsible for medical treatment, and someone in charge of resisting and holding back hostiles. Fang Yuan continued without stop, getting closer to the wild boar. The wild boar screeched lowly, the white fur on its neck standing, the symbol of its agitation. Finally, when Fang Yuan was near enough, closer than the wild boar's acceptable range, the wild boar's hoofs dug the ground 3 times before spreading its muscular forelimbs, lowered its head, and dashed towards Fang Yuan. Its upper jaw was withdrawn, its lower jaw turning upwards, forming 2 white tusks. Under the moonlight, the tusks shone with light as it stabbed towards Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan had no defensive type of goo worm, and if he was pierced by the tusk, his stomach would be penetrated, his intestines would be punctured, and he would be heavily injured if not dead. Moonlight goo. Fang Yuan's face was calm as he thought in his mind, causing the moonlight goo in his palm to absorb his primeval essence and emit an eerie moonlight glow, interweaving with the moonlight from the night sky. The wild boar charged towards Fang Yuan as his right palm swiped across the air. With a swoosh, the moonblade flew out and hit the wild boar in the face, causing blood to splatter all over. The wild boar cried out loudly, turning its anger into fuel as its charge became even faster, and in the blink of an eye, it reached a few steps before Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan nimbly jumped to the side, rolling and breaking his fall. The wild boar charged right past Fang Yuan, and with a boom, crashed into a tree behind him. The tiny tree was only as thick as a human arm. After getting knocked by the wild boar, it received devastating damage as the tree trunk tore open and split into 2. Fang Yuan stood up, quickly getting close to the wild boar, while a moonblade shot out from his right hand at the same time. The eerily blue moonblade drew a straight line across the air as it landed on the wild boar. The wild boar's black fur had several thin cuts on it. The injury was very deep and bright red blood oozed out from it. The moonblade Fang Yuan activated used up upper stage primeval essence. Thus it was able to break even a human's toughest bones in one shot. But on the boar, it could only cause such superficial injury and not damage the bones that a small wild boar like this was so strong. This showed how cruel the living environment was in this world. The wild boar growled and charged towards Fang Yuan again, in the process of sprinting. Its blood-dripping wound continued to tear open, and its warm blood poured out like water. Fang Yuan used the same trick, taking a tumble sideways and dodged its charge. The wild boar, although strong and very ferocious, had one weakness: it could not change directions easily. Its speed was fast, but that meant it could not alter directions easily. So this way, every one of its charges is in a straight line. As long as a goo master is attentive enough, it is not hard to dodge. Boom, boom, boom. Every time the wild boar charged, Fang Yuan would shoot a few moonblades, causing its old wounds to be overlapped with new wounds. And the angrier it got, the more blood flowed. After a few times, its movements slowed, and its growling also revealed a hint of weakness, little like goo. This time, Fang Yuan not only activated the moonlight goo, but also deployed his primeval essence and injected it into the little light goo. The moonlight goo, after being refined, had always stayed in Fang Yuan's right palm, turning into a blue crescent moon tattoo. After the little light goo was refined, it also resided in his right palm, turning into the shape of a 5-sided star. At this point, his dark green primeval essence entered the 2 goo, the moonlight emitting an eerie blue moonlight, while the little light goo emitted a milky white glow. The milky white light fused into the moonlight, and the originally small lump of moonlight instantly became twice as big. Go. Fang Yuan's right hand swept, and an enhanced giant moonblade flew out. Using only the moonlight goo, the size was only palm-sized. But with the addition and help of the little light goo, the moonblade's size doubled, and its attack range also doubled as well. Swoosh. The moonblade hit the wild boar on the neck, creeping into its black-gray fur. It emerged from the other end and flew for about 3 to 4 meters before dissipating in the air. Glup, glup. The wild boar stood on the spot, frozen for a moment. Then blood oozed out from its injuries like a fountain. It abruptly collapsed, half of its head cut off. washed away by the pouring blood, and only a small piece of flesh kept it together with its body. A thick smell of blood gushed out into his nose. Fang Yuan did not dare to hesitate, pointing a finger at the wild boar, and the white boar goo which was residing in his aperture instantly turned into a milky white light and entered the wild boar's body. Fang Yuan stood on the spot, nervously staying alert of the surroundings. Although the beast's skin map said that the area was relatively safe, there were always accidents in nature. What if beasts were attracted by the smell of the blood? After a while, the white boar goo flew back safe and sound. The entire boar had shrunk in half, only leaving behind its black-gray fur and the intestines under its skin. As for the meat, most of it was eaten by the white boar goo. But the strange thing was, although the white boar goo ate pork nearly 1,000 times its size, it did not change physically. There was not even a drip of blood on it, as it maintained that milky white worm appearance. After this meal, I'll come 5 days later to hunt boars. Fang Yuan kept the white boar goo, but did not leave immediately. Instead, he took out his knife and extracted the 2 tusks of the boar. The wild boar's body had a few things of value. The first was pork, the second was fur, and the third was its teeth. But now the wild boar meat was mostly eaten by the white boar goo. Its skin was full of holes due to the moon blades, being meaningless even if retrieved. Only this pair of tusks had some value. It could be used as food for certain goo worms which ate teeth as food, or used as a catalyst for some goo worm's advancement. Fang Yuan hid the teeth in the rock-cracked secret cave before returning to the hostel. He did not sleep immediately, but sat on his bed and started to cultivate. Within the aperture, the primeval sea acted like waves, rising and falling. Fang Yuan was now a middle-stage goo master, so after using the liquor worm refinement, he had upper-stage primeval essence. Thus, while the people his age had middle-stage pale green primeval essence, Fang Yuan's primeval essence was dark green. Now that he killed a boar, there was only 23% of his primeval essence in his aperture. That a rank 1 goo master was not that strong in battle. Or rather, nature's environment was too harsh. Even if the moonblade could break bones, to kill a normal wild boar, Fang Yuan had to use 20% of his upper stage primeval essence, white boar goo. His eyes were shut tight, his spirit immersed into his aperture. In the aperture, a gush of dark green primeval essence rushed up against the flow, injecting into the white boar goo. The white boar goo immediately emitted a bright white light, and the light enveloped Fang Yuan's body. If one looked from the outside, they would see that Fang Yuan's body was emitting a pure white light from the inside. Fang Yuan's every muscle and every inch of skin was soaked in this white light. That a feeling of numbness and itchiness was felt by him. As the white light modified his muscles, it allowed strength to be slowly infused into his body, thus gaining roots and never to be lost again. However, after a moment, the numb feeling became pain. This pain was like getting electrocuted, from numbness to sharp pain like getting cut by razor blades. Fang Yuan hurriedly stopped the white boar goo. Anything prolonged was not good. The white boar goo could not be overused. It could be applied about 15 minutes a day. Exceed it, and extreme pain would be felt, increasingly painful. That if he continued using it despite that, a person might even die from the pain.